Hello and welcome to Qsports. With me, Pakaba Suso, deputizing for my colleague Mumudu Gajaga, who is currently in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But of course, I am in the company of my boss, Mr. Adi Drami. Welcome to the program, Mr. Adi.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on this program. People know how much I love sports, so any excuse to be invited, I accept. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adi. Today we will be talking about the 6th Islamic Solidarity Games currently underway in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We will explore the significance and the performance of Gambian athletes in their respective competitions. That is very important. We will, of course, look at their performances and how important it is. From there, we will also look at the finals of the African World Cup playoffs as it is set on Sunday between Nigeria and DR Congo after eliminating Gabon and Cameroon, respectively. Mr. Adi Drami has been following the developments. We will talk about its significance, and we will reflect on the two important playoffs and also look ahead to the much important anticipated final between Nigeria and, of course, DR Congo. Mr. Adi, but first, let's look at the 6th Islamic Solidarity Games. We would have loved to have Gajaga on the show, but it's unfortunate we could not have him. But first, tell us a bit about the Islamic Solidarity Games.
Yeah, I mean, it features 57 countries, countries that are primarily, majority Islamic countries. And among these 57 countries, of course, you have the Gambia. It's the second time that these games are being held in Saudi Arabia. First time was in 2011. There have been a couple of disruptions. So if you think 2011, why only now for the 6th one? Well, because of COVID and other reasons, games were suspended. But these are games where traditionally we've done quite well. And when I say we, I guess I should say Gina Mariam Bass. Because, she's won gold in the sprint at these Islamic Games. And so Gambia has, we're going to miss her. She's recently had a baby. Pardon me. Nonetheless, we're taking a young team of sprinters to compete in the 100, the 200, and also the 4x100 women's relay. And the team and the squad, they're quite hopeful. I think the Minister of Sport was there briefly. And also you've got, obviously, there's a doctor accompanying them as accompany most teams. And you've got officials, there's a chef de mission who is making sure all the athletes have everything that they need, whilst they're out there. And so far it's been really, really good.
And as far as you know, they have settled in well.
Pardon me?
I said, as far as you know, they have the Gambian delegation have settled in well.
Oh my word, they've settled in well. I gather that the hotels they're staying in are of the very, very highest quality, and so they've got nothing to complain about. And in fact, the facilities that they have to train and also to perform again are of top quality. They're of international standard. And so, Saudi has really raised this game to host these, because you can tell that they really wanted to make a statement, having seen, World Cup go to Qatar not that long ago. They want to show that they can also host top quality international competition. And so we've had swimming, we've had karate, we've had judo, where Gambians have already performed. And for some of them, acquitted themselves well. In one case, we had judoka get through to the next round, but then he twisted his ankle in his next bout and was unable to continue. But the quality, as I said, I've been watching it, as I told you before we came on air. The standard has been very, very high, not just, from us. I think the one disappointment that we could see is from the Gambians who were not in the swimming. Were not able to better their personal best. I mean, because most athletes, you and I know, when you have fantastic facilities, you think, okay, this is going to make me really raise my game. And also the tough competition.
And all that.
This is it. We had Bajonga in the, I think, 50-meter breaststroke. Butterfly, I beg your pardon. And he was agonizingly close to winning. And Yusufu of Afghanistan just touched before him to defeat him in that particular race. But as I said, the quality has been of the highest standard, and it's been really fun to watch. And if people haven't been watching, I think they should tune in and watch.
Right. Before we elaborate more on our athletes and their performances in these their respective competitions, Can you highlight like how Saudi has gone in terms of sports infrastructural development?
Gosh, I mean, Saudi Arabia, they have this kind of vision which stretches beyond sports. And so one of the things they want to do is that they want in the future for Saudi Arabia to be a kind of place where top quality international sports takes place. So whether it's boxing, golf, horse racing, and so on. And so they have been developing their infrastructure. And all of this is part of a wider concept by the Saudi government to actually move away from their heavy dependence on oil. Because if you can, for argument's sake, be able to host a Formula One race, which they've done, you can, if you get the chance to host a World Cup, which they're trying to get, all of these things bring in revenue beyond oil, because the country has been 99% dependent on oil revenue. So they diversify. They're building now. They're building cars, building airplanes, building drones. And so sports infrastructure is all part of that. So it's not done in isolation to anything, so they're building it, yes. And for them, what they've done, if you go online and you see the adverts for these games, they've very much highlighted all the venues where the games are taking place to show the world that these are venues of the highest international standards and any international competitions can take place in that. The pool is even called the Olympic pool. You think maybe one day they might want to host the Olympic Games, So and so when you see the venues, and in fact our colleague Gajaga did a story where he went and he looked at some of the venues and he did a report for us. I was impressed. I was impressed before the game started, but as I've been watching the games go on and I've seen the facilities, in a way it's not to be surprised. They have the money, and so you would expect them to put that money into. But as I said, they have a longer term vision that 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, as they rely less and less on oil. And in fact, they're also building lots of tourist resorts. Because the majority of people who go to Saudi at the moment are pilgrims who go for the Hajj or Umrah. Hajj or Umrah. And so they want to diversify, and they have this bold vision that one day they will challenge Dubai for number of tourist visitors, and that is a huge ambition. And so all of this, the sporting infrastructure and everything else you see, is part of that. Is part of that.
And in relation to that, how important is it for our athletes who have the opportunity to represent Gambia in these Islamic games in terms of experience, in terms of exposure?
I mean, it's hugely. I mean, if you look at something like the judo and the karate, our athletes have already competed against people who are multiple times African champions from Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia. You won't get any better competition. And as I said, there are certain things that if you look across the mat and the person facing you is an African champion, you shouldn't be scared. That should make you raise your game and say, I want to be that person. I want to defeat that person and become Islamic Games champion, and who knows, in future. And so I think it's inspired them. And even when Gajaga spoke to them before the competitions, they were saying like, wow, if we come here and we don't perform, then really we should kick ourselves, because these are the kind of conditions where we're staying, where we're training, and when we're performing, when we go on the mat or we go on the track or in the swimming pool. These are the kind of conditions that will make anybody want to raise their game. And so there are no excuses, and they haven't given any excuses. I said, apart from our judoka who injured his ankle, that one is understandable. In fact, he had to be stretchered off. He tried to carry on, but it wasn't sensible. You can't, with a twisted ankle, you can't obviously perform at your best. So it's forced all of them to raise their games, and and really good luck to them. And so they've seized the opportunity of being in the surroundings where they're competing against very, very high caliber athletes. Yeah,
definitely. You highlighted a bit in terms of what our athletes have demonstrated so far, especially in judo and also in swimming. But how about taekwondo?
We're competing in all of those, and
even
karate. We've got karate, taekwondo. And just for humorous, before I answer the question, we're also in this games. There's also camel racing, by the way.
I really find that one really interesting,
because a lot of Muslim and a lot of Arab countries, of course, they have camels. So perhaps you would expect something like So horse racing, camel racing is part of their culture. But in terms of our athletes, I think you know, for us, you know, sometimes you hear somebody say, we went into this competition, and for me, getting to the quarterfinal or the semi-final was almost as good as winning a medal. I think that's how our athletes have to view it, really.
Like mentality stuff?
Yes, you know, mentally, you have to be realistic. You know, it's no use saying that the guy from Morocco, who is a 3-time African champion, this is my first time of appearing in the games, I'm going to defeat him. Well, if you can, you can. But don't be defeated before you've even competed against the person. You know, and I think that's the mentality that somebody who's the chef de mission, that is his role, to say to each athlete, before you go into competition, be mentally prepared. Because, you know, running on a track or competing in a race is as much about the mental thing as it is about the physical conditioning.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Adi. I mean, based on your observations, do you think that aspect is really given the attention it deserves?
I don't think it is. And that's why now you see football teams and athletes employing psychologists to actually get them into the right frame of mind before each competition and so on. I'll give you a very, very brief personal experience, and I related it on the program this morning, just the other day. When I was in school, my brother, my older brother, who sadly passed away this year, was one of the fastest guys in the school. And so I'd always seen him as, you know, school record holder. He was my brother, proud of him and so on. One day I went to train with some other guys, and our games master happened to be timing us. And he came back and he said to me, "You've just broken your brother's school record." I thought, I'd never run against him because I always thought he was too fast.
He was too fast.
But the next day I challenged him and I beat him. But it's the mental thing.
Exactly.
It's the mental thing. You know, and my brother never beat me again in the sprint, in 100 or 200. He never beat me after that day because suddenly I had convinced myself, having, as I said, broken the record when he wasn't even running. But when I was told that I'd just broken his record, I thought, hang on a minute, you mean I can be as fast or faster than him? So the mental aspect, you're right, it's not given as much. A lot of people, they just concentrate on the physical aspect of it. But the mental one is, you see Usain Bolt, before he goes on the track, his way of relaxing was to clown around, do all his posing and stuff. Other guys, they mentally focus, and they kind of tunnel vision. But everybody has a different man. And so what you need is, you need somebody who can get it into your head. You can win this race. You can beat this person. But we don't either have the funds or we don't think it's as important. But believe me, it is as important as your physical conditioning, your mental conditioning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is really, really important. And of course, if it is given the required, you know, attention, it will obviously reflect
produce
on
the results.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad you asked that question because it's not a question that's often asked, you know, really. And people just look at an athlete and say, oh, you know, they seem well fit and so on. How did they lose and so on? Well, well, the mental aspect is part of it as well.
And in terms of results, do you think what would be at least, like, do you think we can have something?
Well, I was going to say, you know, like, you know, when I was answering a previous question, I said, you know, for some people, you know, getting past the first stage or getting into the quarters, or, you know, getting into, say, where you have a position, for example, in judo or karate, or taekwondo. If you get to the position where you get into the final 8 or whatever, then there's a chance of a podium finish. You know, so it might be the bronze medal at the very least. And so for some of us, if we're realistic, and it's not being defeatist, it's just being realistic about what your chances are, that might be maybe the best we can hope. But of course, as I said, if Gina Bass had been there, we'd all be dreaming of more gold medals. But we have to be realistic, because the ones who've replaced her in the team, none of them have hit those heights in terms of times and so on. But I'm very, very hopeful and very realistically hopeful that the women's sprint team actually can bring home a medal, gold, maybe silver.
And that is the aspect that where the confidence is much higher in terms of like maybe a podium finish.
And you know, again, the example I gave. So these ladies who are there, they have to say to themselves, nobody's expecting us to come on with a medal because Gina's not here. If Gina was here, we had a chance. Let us show that we can do it without her. It's like, you know, if you pick a team and Cristiano's not there, or Lionel Messi's not there.
You think it would not?
You know, you think, oh, this team got, but no, that team and the people who step in to replace those people have to be able to say to themselves, these guys are not here. Let's not anybody think they're a one-man team. We can do it without them.
Yeah.
And that's how our ladies who are running on the track in the 100s, 200 and the 4x1 need to think. And again, it's the mental thing.
Yeah.
They have to convince themselves and also want to prove to everybody else that, you know what, we can be just as good and we can make Gambia just as proud by delivering a significant result.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we hope they will.
Yeah, we hope. And as far as you know, what are we expecting in the coming days?
Well, for many people, we always laugh about this, myself and Gachaga, and it's a pity we couldn't get through to him on the phone. Yeah. Because for many people, whether it's the Islamic Games or the Olympic Games, for them, only when the track and field stuff starts, that's when the competition and that's when the games start. So, you know, we're looking forward to 100 meters, 200 meters, men and women. We're looking to the 4x1 on the track. And, you know, let's be honest, for a lot of people, those are what makes things like the Olympic Games and the Islamic, you know, Solidarity Games come alive, is when the track and field events start. So that's what we have to look forward to. And, you know, some serious competition. And we've got some, you know, male sprinters who we also hope can deliver and bring home, you know, significant results. But as I said, for most people, you have to think that, okay, you've done your preparation and you need to better your personal best at the very least. Come away and say, you know, I went somewhere, they had fantastic facilities, and I did better than my personal best, my previous personal best.
There's always room for improvement.
Always.
Always.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ade. Of course, you are watching Qsports on QTV, and I'm Pankaba Suso, in the company of Mr. Ade. Let's now talk about the African playoffs for the 2026 World Cup. Sure. It is really, really tough. 4 teams, as we speak, Nigeria and DR Congo are playing the finals. That's right. We would love to reflect a bit on this, you know, the semi-final games.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. But first, let's focus. Let's focus first on the Nigeria Gabon game. Nigeria won 4-1. I mean, you watched that game.
I watched the game, and you know, I was saying to you that it's a kind of typical game where if all you know was the score, you think, oh, it must have been easy. It really was not. The game went all the way to extra time. I don't know if we have the report that I did on there before the game, but it was 1-1 at full time, and then it went to the extra time. Osimhen got a couple of goals. He missed sevele more, I have to say. But it had been an even game. It had been an even game up till then, but you know, in the end they ran away with it. By the time it went 2-1, 3-1, you could see the heads of the Gabon players were dropping. Their confidence was kind of almost visibly kind of seeping away. Aubameyang really didn't have an opportunity to shine. He got 4 goals against the Gambia, but he realized he was against much tougher opposition this time. But it had been a kind of very, very tight game. And in fact, both games were tight. You know, the Cameroon DR Congo game was equally tight. And again, you know, Cameroon, 8 times they've been to the World Cup, more than any African team.
Nation.
And for me, if you kind of take it wider than the final, which is being played on Sunday in Morocco between, you know, Nigeria and DR Congo, you look at the qualifying, the likes of Nigeria, the likes of Cameroon. When we heard the announcement made that Africa was going to be contributing at least 9, if one of these get through, this and the other playoff, then Africa would have 10 teams at the World Cup. We thought the likes of Nigeria and Cameroon, it would be simple for them. Nobody who looked at the group would have thought Cabo Verde would finish above Cameroon in their group, but they did.
They did.
You know.
All right. Sorry for interrupting, Mr. I think we will have to go with that report you said.
Okay, sure.
Then we will continue.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ade. And
Sure.
of course, you are still watching QTV, Qsports, with me, Pakaba Suso and Ade Drame. We're still talking about the World Cup playoffs, the African World Cup playoffs. We spoke about the importance of it, and we highlighted on the Nigeria and, of course, Gabon game, as you pointed out, that Aubameyang realized that he was facing a much stronger opponent compared to the Gambia.
They had him handcuffed, I have to say. They had him handcuffed.
And in terms of Gabon,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think this would do to them?
I mean, Gabon and Gambia now have this kind of,
something like a rivalry sort of.
It's become this kind of rivalry, based on what happened when, they claimed, stuff happened at the airport and so on. And it's kind of become personal between us. It's almost become kind of Argentina, Brazil. You'd expect it to be between us and Senegal, say, because we're neighbors. But it's become Gambia, Gabon. And in the office, I heard all the Gambians were saying, I hope Gabon lose this match. And so they were definitely rooting.
I know Gat is among them.
Gat were definitely among those we spoke about it. But they had a good team. And as I had said, if you looked at the game and at the end of full time, really nobody would have been able to call which side you thought was going to win come the final whistle. That's how tight it had been. Wow. And there were chances, like when I say chances, I don't mean half chances. I mean, there was an instance where there was a corner to Gabon and the ball broke to Osimhen, who very cleverly had stood on the halfway line in the expectation that if it was cleared, the ball would come to him. He ran the length from the halfway line with only the keeper to beat, and he put it about 15 feet wide. Wow. It was a shocking miss. And this was before he then got his couple of goals. So, that was one of the most blatant and worst misses in the game. There are other times when people were kind of in front of goal and blazed over the bar. Just, the occasion got to them and they weren't able to keep calm and sort of think, they say some footballers, they kind of switch off and switch off everything and it's just calm when they're in front of goal. They don't panic. But there were instances where people on both sides panicked and hence the scoreline.
And for Nigeria and Osimhen, before the game, there were reports of a training boycott due to unpaid allowances and bonuses.
I read that and I read it with disbelief.
Shocking.
This is an opportunity for you to go to the World Cup. Many of these guys play in various leagues around the world where they are millionaires, dollar millionaires. To want to play for your country and get the chance to get to the World Cup, you or I, Pakaba, we're football fans, we would pay for that opportunity to play for our country to get to the World Cup, rather than say, oh, you didn't give us the bonus you promised if we got to this stage, and so there were, fantastical sums that were being promised. And even in the case of Cameroon, it is alleged that Cameroon were offered $1 million each if they managed to get through this and the next. So, but you should not need financial incentives to want to play in the World Cup.
Motivation.
The motivation enough there that as a so-called big team, as I said, Cameroon and so on, Nigeria, getting there when you fail to get there in the group, that should be your motivation. Not, oh, they promised us a bonus. But you're right, there was this kind of boycott, which I found astonishing. But they got over it and they managed to win the game. And of course, when you're winning, everything is joyous and joyful. Everybody was jumping up and down, and it's amazing. I mean, I was one of those who, when they said it was going to be expanded to 48 teams at the World Cup, I was kind of, is this going to kind of water down the quality? But when you look at the likes of Cabo Verde, they didn't get there by accident. The fact that you finished above Cameroon, and then in the Caribbean, there's a very interesting one developing in the CONCACAF zone, where you have Curacao, a country of an island nation of 155,000 people. Wow. They're above Jamaica and Trinidad in the qualifying. And if they draw or win against Jamaica in their next game on Tuesday, they're through to the World Cup. Curacao, 155,000. Of course, for the first time. So for me, all of a sudden, I thought, and I watched their last game where they played against Bermuda and they won 6-0. They looked really, really good. And I'm telling you, based on what I've seen of them and of Jamaica, because I've been following that zone as well, Jamaica have it all to do. They are going to have a tough game on their hands, even though it's being played in Kingston, Jamaica. But Curacao look a really good side. I'd never heard of any of their players, but they look really good. There was a 19-year-old who got a couple of goals in that 6-0 win, and it was his debut.
Interesting. Interesting. Mr. Ade, I would like to have your opinion on this, because with regards to players' protests and boycotts due to unpaid allowances and bonuses, it's not a new thing. In the African continent. Africa, it's a big issue. But what message do you think this is sending? And do you think it's high time for it to, to be resolved?
It really has to be, because it's kind of embarrassing. You hardly ever hear about this in South America or in Europe, but always in Africa we keep hearing it. And really and truly, if football federations, governing bodies, the governments of African nations are serious, these are things you need to have settled. If you promise people you're going to pay them, pay them. Otherwise, don't make the promise. Because that's where a lot of the contention, that's where a lot of the argument comes in. You say, we're going to give you $500,000 if you get to this stage, and they get to this stage, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, we've just looked in the kitty, we don't have the money. Well, why did you make the promise?
In the first place.
So if you are serious, look, just in another context, we were talking about the mental thing. If I go into a game and I've been arguing about money and so on, I'm not going into the right mental frame of mind. I remember at one of the Euros, 96 or whatever it was, when England, for the first time in a long time, beat the Netherlands. I mean, the night before, some of the Netherlands players had fought each other. So to me, I always tended to dismiss that result. I think England beat them 4-1 at Wembley, and I watched the game live. And, England were joyous and so I'm like, yeah, but you've just beaten a team that is, even on the pitch, some of them didn't want to pass to their fellow players. So it's very important if governing bodies realize that a player's state of mind is very, very important. Do not have your players go on the pitch before a game when you've made them promises that you have not kept. Because every time we hear it, it's about promises not kept. And that's why people are threatening. They're not threatening because of any other reason. They've been promised something that has not been delivered. And if you promise, deliver. And then they go in with the right mental frame of mind and they can perform. So that's what needs to be done. Just address these things and get them out of the way. 2 weeks, a month before the event, and then that all they have to concentrate on is the game.
As you said, it's really disgraceful.
It's shameful.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about DR Congo and the Cameroon.
And Cameroon.
So another household name in the African continent.
As I said,
they have Brian Bomo, they have Onana, they have very, very, very big squad.
And Onana had a good game, by the way. If any Man United fans are watching, he made a couple of outstanding saves in the game.
I've been seeing certain disappointments around his performance with regards to the goal Cameroon conceded. Well, do you think he is at fault?
No, I mean, his defense were more at fault than he was, really. I mean, and that's why when I was a footballer, or when I played football, let me say I wasn't a footballer, but when I played football, I always said I would never be in goal. Because the 2 or 3 great saves he made in the match, everybody forgets because of the one goal that he let in. But Mbumo came close a couple of times to getting a goal for Cameroon. They had Basogog, they had, what's the forward? Abubakar, Vincent Abubakar. They were there. So they had a full squad. Nobody was missing, injured or anything like that. But DRC gave them a hell of a game. They really raised, and Chancel Mbemba got the goal. I mean, for anybody to blame Onana for that goal, that's nonsense. They just don't like the guy. it really wasn't a goal that you could blame him for. And as we were discussing before we came on air, the last time they got there, DR Congo, they weren't called DR Congo, they were called Zaire. I remember that tournament in 1974 in Germany when they were drawn in a very tough group. I think they had Brazil, Scotland, and Yugoslavia, and they had some heavy defeats: 9-0, 6-0, 3-0. Defeats as Zaire. They'd gone as African champions, and I must say we were very deflated when we watched it, because we expected great things from them, and we were kind of bragging, you know, that an African, because before then, you know, the likes of Morocco had gotten to 1970 World Cup, but you know, for us Africans, you know, it's sub-Saharan Africa is what counted. So when DR Congo or Zaire, as they were then, you know, Zaire is 74. We had high hopes. They didn't make it, but this time they put on a very good performance against a very good Cameroon team. And Cameroon, let's not forget, I mean, they were kind of, you know, a point or two from making it as group winners, but they beat Cabo Verde, and then Cabo Verde beat them, and that was the difference in that group, really. And so Cabo Verde are there, and they are not. But DR Congo, a very good side, and Wan-Bissaka was there.
And the other guy, Bakumbu, right?
Yes.
They have a quality team, and it seems like some of those players who were doubting to play for the national team
have now committed.
And
I suspect we're going to find that a lot, because you had players who were kind of undecided. I think, you know, do I throw my hat in with? For example, you have Mason Greenwood. He's now doing great things in France. And he's undecided as to whether he should play for Jamaica. I suspect if Jamaica end up qualifying, he might say, yeah, I'll play. So you get those situations. And sometimes those players bring a kind of resentment from the rest of the squad, because they were like, we're the ones who got you to this stage. Having said that, Bubista of Cabo Verde, he has said that he's not going to rest. He said there are players who didn't play in the qualifiers that he's been trying to get to play for Cabo Verde, and he's going to go after them still and say, look, you know, I know you said before, but now we're in a World Cup. Do you want? He said, I have no problem with that. He said, because these are good players. I mean, let's just think about some of the players who could have played for Cabo Verde. Nani. Even Cristiano Ronaldo.
Even Cristiano,
his grandmother was born in Cabo Verde. You know, but of course, you know.
And this is a huge debate now, where you have these players with African connections that waits until that, for example, like, let's say, for example, like they have, they can represent France, for instance, but they are not called in the France national team. So now they are waiting. They wait, and all their hopes are over. They decide
then they want to
switch. And at that time, some of them are like at a very, very very, very bad age. Sorry to say, like 29, some 30. And for in instances like that, do you think they should be welcome?
I've never thought that they should, because you're kind of a mercenary. You know, playing for a country and the badge. When you stand there, sing the national anthem, the pride, you see some players, their tears in their eyes. But if you're somebody who you just think, oh, this is my chance to get into the World Cup or something.
Simply because you are playing in the Premier League, or you are playing in League or in the Bundesliga. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And as I said, in relation to the other, you know, Cabo Verde players, where sometimes it can bring resentment if people have resisted and resisted, and then when they're 28, 29, 30, they then say, okay, you can pick me now. That's never going to be something that will be pleasing to the players who dedicate their lives to the team and are willing to play for the team from the get-go. So no, you know, I've never been one who said, I mean, for example, in the case of Sierra Leone, let me give you an example. You have the two Chaloba brothers. One of them is in the England squad currently, and the older brother also was. They were both actually born in Sierra Leone, so it's not, they weren't even born in England. But both of them have represented England, and I recall very well when, you know, Sierra Leone coach was trying, but you know, Sierra Leone have never qualified for anything much. We've qualified for a couple of AFCONs and so on. But if you put your allegiance to England, England, they're in the Euros, they're in the World Cup, they're this, they're that, you know, and just the profile of being an England player is probably the highest profile that anybody can get, really, apart from if you're Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. You know, you're playing for England. The way football is hyped in England, you know, that... And
it's in another level, huh?
whole different level. And I remember a guy who was their agent saying to me that, he said, look, he said the kind of visibility, and even if you think about things like endorsements and so on, to say I'm playing for England, you're going to get many more endorsements than saying I'm playing for Sierra Leone. So sometimes you get that, and it's a shame because the older Chalobah now, I mean, England no longer pick him,
and that is understandable. You think?
But Sierra Leone, he's at an age, he's still playing. Sierra Leone would have always picked him, and they'd still pick him. But they're not going to pick him. And you think that is understandable, Mr. Ade? It depends. I mean, I'm smiling because. Okay, I'll be honest. I had quite an argument with the agent, the guy who was the agent, because he was telling me that he was telling them to play for England if England come calling, because they'd represented England at under 16, under 17, under 21, and of course at youth level. So I could understand from that viewpoint. But if you think that football is about being patriotic, then the country you were born in, there's nothing better if you're good enough and they come calling to answer that call.
So maybe it's about players' desire to play in these big international football competitions.
It's about that because, Sierra Leone in my lifetime and yours may never qualify for the World Cup, but England almost always qualify for the World Cup. So if the opportunity is to either play for Sierra Leone, who might qualify for every 4 or 5 AFCON, never for the World Cup, but England, they qualify for the Euros, they qualify for the World Cup, then, of course, from that aspect alone, maybe many, and I'm not trying to kind of, cast any aspersions on the Chalobah brothers or anybody else, but just it's sometimes a difficult, thing for players to make, and maybe because I've never been in the position, but that's why I had this really, and when I mean argument, like a serious argument with their agent, I said, you should tell them to play for Sierra Leone. He's like, come on, man, get serious. What are the opportunities? Football is a short career. You could be over in 10, 11 years.
And in the case of Mbappe, maybe you would know, because I heard also like the father wanted him to play for Cameroon, but the Cameroonian Federation were really hesitant.
They were hesitant.
They were hesitant, and they were not really convinced. And when Mbappe exploded, suddenly they were interested. In situation like that, I mean, what is your view? Like the federation, the position they initially took, do you think like that is positive?
Of course, it's extremely negative. If you see a young up-and-coming player, and we're talking about when he was kind of 16, 17, and everybody's saying, we want this player, and then the father actually approaches you, and you're reluctant, then there's something wrong with the federation. Because, one of the jokes that people have been making about Cabo Verde is that they call them the LinkedIn team. Because apparently the manager went on LinkedIn and he looked for players who said things like, my parents or my grandparents or my parent was born in Cabo Verde. And he approached them on LinkedIn. And about 3 or 4 of those guys are now playing for the team. Wow. That's what you need to do. You actually have to, look, football and the world is changing. In the age of social media, go on people's profiles, check them out, like the guy Lopez, who plays in Ireland. That's how they approached him. They saw his his profile on LinkedIn, and it said father born in Cabo Verde, mother Irish.
There you go.
And they contacted him, and he's been with the team now for 10 years. So you need somebody at all serious FAs who that is strictly their job. Go on social media profiles, approach people, and be proactive. So you shouldn't even need the likes of Mbappe's father approaching a federation, let alone Fecafoot, the federation, and then you're turning them down. You should be actively going out and seeking these people who have roots from that country.
With huge prospects.
Massive prospect, as he always has been. I mean, this is somebody who, when he was playing junior football, the football world was already talking about him. And then,
incredible speed.
Speed, skill, goal scoring, and then you get approached and say, I'd like my son to play for, and you're dragging your feet. Come on, man, you need shooting. Like seriously.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, now, Mr. Ade, let's talk about the playoff final between DR Congo and, of course, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. What are you anticipating in this game?
I'm anticipating because of the stakes being so high, another tight game. The two games we talked about, you know, Nigeria, Gabon, Cameroon, DRC, they were cagey to start with. No side wanted to make mistakes. And then as the game went on, you realize the team thought, well, actually, we need to push on. Otherwise, you know, the other side could get a goal and suddenly we're out of it. And suddenly they realize that there's a lot at stake here. And that's what we're going to find in the final, I suspect. I don't expect any team, you know, I'll probably be proved wrong and it'll probably be 6-0 to one or the other. But based on what I saw, you've got two very good teams, and DRC will not feel, for all the fact that Nigeria have all the more well-known players, if you were to compare squad by squad, in terms of performance, they're not going to feel any inferior to Nigeria going into this game, and they will feel, look, we got rid of Cameroon, we can take care of you guys too. So I think Nigeria will find they've got a game on their hands. I'm certainly looking forward to it on Sunday, and I think it should be an exciting game. But I think it's, you know, as I said, at the latter stages of both games, it would have been too difficult to predict who was going to win, even as I said in the Nigeria game where they ended up winning 4-1. In the 90th minute when it was 1-1, nobody was going to see a 4-1 score to Nigeria, really. So anybody tells you that, they're lying, because it was a really tight, very close game.
And you will think that Nigeria's strength is in their offensive play, with Victor Osimhen leading the line. How important do you think he is going into this game? He
is crucial. I mean, one of the goals he scored is what you would call typical Osimhen. Brought it down on his chest, controlled it and fired. The guy is a kind of Haaland, sometimes almost impossible to defend against, because he knows how to use his arms to create that space. He knows how to push on and be very forceful. So, of course, you know, likes of Iwobi will always be looking to get the ball to Osimhen in the box, because they know he can deliver. He's shown across his career that when it comes to goals, he's almost second to none. So, very important for him. DRC, more of a kind of team squad without sort of explosive, exciting individuals who stand out. But that kind of collective unity is really what has driven them to the brink of this position. But let's not forget, even if they win this, whichever team wins it, it doesn't mean they qualify for the World Cup. There's yet another playoff tournament where they're going to get teams from different regions, from Asia, from South America, from Europe, who didn't win their group, who then go into this. So still a long way to go.
A long way to go. Of course, we will talk about that too. But in terms of you did mention about the stakes in this game, because it is a huge opportunity for these household names to be involved in the 2026 World Cup in America, Mexico, and of course Canada. Who are you rooting for more, you think?
You mean in the Africa playoff?
Yeah, in the Africa playoffs, yes.
Well, if I don't choose Nigeria, my great-grandparents would spin in their graves. My full names are Adeyemi Olusegun Abiose, which tells you that I have Yoruba ancestry on my mother's side. So I'd be rooting for Nigeria, I have to be honest. One shouldn't, but you've asked me a direct question. And if games were, but you know, games are not decided on paper. But if you looked at squad for squad, man for man, player for player, from goalkeeper right down, you would think Nigeria should be. But we thought they would win their group. And they didn't. And so a one-off game, a final, you and I remember when Man United beat Man City in the FA Cup final. United had a dreadful season. Nobody gave them. I mean, if United had played the way they played in that final in the league, they would have won the league.
Of course.
You know, so teams can raise their games for a final, and it is a final, in a way that is unforeseen leading up to that final. And I suspect Congo will be saying, look, nobody's expecting us to win this game. Let's show them. And that could be their motivation. If I'm their coach, that's what I'm telling them.
And quickly, you highlighted on the next step after these playoffs, where they will play against other nations who have.
There's another mini tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's another mini tournament.
It's a 6-team.
That's right.
Qualifier.
Yeah.
Yes, intercontinental qualifier, exactly. If any of these two nations happens to make it there, what are their chances, you think?
I think, based on what I've seen, because again,
out of the 6, there are 2 places to fight.
2 places to fight for.
Yeah.
So, if you look at it, DR Congo and Nigeria really might consider themselves unlucky not to have qualified as of right.
Yeah.
And so, given that, I would back any of those 2 that gets through this final to actually get through, to actually make it through, and then, you know, Africa will have 10 teams at a World Cup. I can't believe I'm saying this, you know, growing up. We were lucky to get 1. You know, and now we could have 10. It seems astonishing, and I have to keep saying it. But either team, to answer your question, I think would be formidable opponents. Because if you look at Nigeria, for me, Nigeria, on their day, if it's a good day, they're as good as the likes of Senegal, who beat England not long ago when they became the first African team to beat England. Nigeria would not look at the Senegal team and think we are their inferiors. So that's how good they are. And so if they get through, I would expect them to get, and you know, as you know, Congo less in terms of, you know, kind of individual stars, but nonetheless a very, very good unit. So I could expect them to go far.
And finally, you make mention of the number of participating African teams we will have this time for the 2026 World Cup. Like 9, maybe probably we might be lucky to have. It could be 10.
It could be 10.
In terms of the teams that have qualified and the quality they have, I mean, what are you expecting in terms of their performance and in terms of, you know, delivering, you know, in fact, breaching that semi-final gap and maybe reaching the finals, or even, who knows, bringing the World Cup trophy to the African continent? I
think the ones that most people would look to would be Morocco. Not only given their performance in the last World Cup, but also, I don't know if you watched the Under-20 World Cup, which they won. And to win it, they had to beat the likes of France, Argentina, Brazil. They didn't win it the easy way. They looked explosive. Some of those guys could be ready, and the coach has already said so. He might draft some of them into the senior team for the World Cup. I mean, they look, and they're all playing.
That shows how good they are.
Shows how good they are, and they're all playing. More than half of the squad are playing at top teams in Europe in the first team. You know, in La Liga, in Ligue 1. And in Serie A. So they're not kind of hidden away in some backwater. And so Morocco, I think for many people, I have to say that Morocco aside, the African team that impressed me the most was South Africa. In the whole qualifying campaign, I was blown away with the style, the skill and the dynamism of South Africa. And of course, they would have qualified long before the last game had they not had points deducted. But they're
more like a dominant team who controls the game with their possession style.
Possession style football. And apparently the South African fans are loving it because they've always wanted their team to play like this. So South Africa...
Majority of their players are playing in South Africa, right?
This is it. You know, playing for top teams in South Africa. But yeah, they've looked a really, really good side, and I've been really impressed with them. If anybody doesn't believe me, they can go back and see all the highlights, and even the full matches are on the FIFA website. All the games, they're on the FIFA website, and it's free to watch. So, you know, there's them. There's Egypt. Egypt are going through a kind of transition because the likes of Salah, his form has been up and down, but in the qualifiers, he was on fire. You know,
he scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, indeed. And you know, if I'm honest, much as I love Cabo Verde, I don't expect them to cause any shocks. But I've seen them making kind of all these statements that, you know, people are saying we're a small team and we should be grateful that we haven't come here just to participate. We want to go there and we want to make a statement by delivering some fantastic results. Then you have the likes of Senegal. Again.
So much quality.
Really, not just the first 11, the whole squad.
Yeah, whole squad.
You
mentioned that win against England.
I watched that and I was like, wow. Because I used to tell people, I can't believe that England have never lost to an African side. And of course, the time they should have was 1990 World Cup against Cameroon, when Cameroon should have put that game to bed.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, they allowed England into it
yeah.
with 2 Gary Lineker penalties.
Yeah.
England ended up winning 3-2.
Yeah.
But you know, going forward, Senegal look a really good side. Morocco.
I think they went to the semi-finals last time.
Semi-finals the last
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And really, there's no indication that that team has gotten weaker.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite. Actually, they got quite strong, and they won their qualifying group quite well. So you know, so the likes of Ghana, again, yeah. I mean, it's I think time for us to be optimistic.
Absolutely.
You know,
we have all the reasons to.
We have every reason to be.
Yeah.
But as I said before, when it was announced we were going to get 9 teams,
Yeah.
I thought some of these teams will go there and they're going to embarrass us. You know, but probably not.
We have strong representatives.
Very, very good representatives. So for me, as I said, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa. If you told me pick 3.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 that I expect would go far. You know, depending on, of course, they don't get drawn in some kind of group of death.
Yeah. Mr. Ade, I'm afraid this is all we have got time for. Thank
already?
You. Yeah, already.
Wow.
It's a pleasure, of course, to have you on the show.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, viewers, this is all we have got time for in this edition of Qsports. Parker with me, Parker Basuso, and my boss, Mr. Ade. You can join us next Saturday, same time, here on QTV. And until then, have a very, very, very good weekend. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.